Hello, and welcome to today's webinar. Everything you need to know to apply for, create, and update your organization's profile, presented by the Community Foundation of Sarasota County and powered by GiveGab. Next slide, please. We're so excited that you're here today. I'm Renata. I am the Vice President of Knowledge and Equity, and we're joined by Susan, the Nonprofit Data Manager. But first, we'll do some housekeeping. We are being recorded. We'll send this out in the nonprofit newsletter, and I'll be doing Q&A. Now over to Susan.
Thanks so much, Renata, and welcome everyone. Next slide, please, Kim. So happy to have everybody join us today. We're going to go through quite a few things with the Giving Partner related to creating a profile and also maintaining your profile, and then a few other aspects of the Giving Partner towards the end. And just know we'll have our Q&A at the end, so you'll be able to ask questions. And go ahead as we're going, if you feel you have questions about anything, you can chat into the chat box. All right, so with that, we'll get started. Next slide, please. What is the Giving Partner? And the next slide. So the Giving Partner is an online platform which reflects the local nonprofit organizations that have made a commitment to transparency. These are organizations that serve in Sarasota, Manatee, Charlotte, and/or DeSoto counties. And the great thing about the Giving Partner, it's a wonderful resource that helps our foundations, donors, businesses, and others understand our local charitable marketplace. The one thing the Giving Partner is not is a grant application. It's not a guarantee of funding, nor a certification rating or a grade. It is also not a substitute for human relationships. And the last thing that it is not is the Giving Challenge. So these are very similar in name, but just know that the Giving Challenge is a separate 24-hour online fundraising event. So if any of you wondered how long the Giving Partner has been around, it's been quite some time. So it launched in 2012. And since that point in time, we have come quite a ways with the Giving Partner and all of the wonderful features that it offers. We've expanded it a lot. It's evolved. In 2019, we had a really great transition to a new platform. And since then, we've been making continual enhancements with our technology partner, GiveGab, to make it a better overall experience for all stakeholders. Next slide. So powering the Giving Partner is GiveGab. GiveGab provides a safe, reliable platform, fail-safe redundancy. They're partnered with Stripe, which is PCI Level 1 compliant as far as a payment processor. All of the profiles that are in the Giving Partner are mobile responsive on every page, so that's a great thing because quite a large percentage of folks now are actually accessing and making donations through a mobile device, whether it's a tablet or smartphone. All of those features that are available with your profiles are easily visible on every single page. The other great thing about GiveGab is they have a dedicated customer success team that's always there to help you with any of your questions along the way as you're developing and or maintaining your profile. So with the next slide, we're going to go to the Giving Partner public interface. This is going to just give you an overall vision of what a profile will look like. So the public interface has enhancements versus the admin interface. So on this, you're going to see enhanced formatting such as videos, graphics, photos. Also, there are the abilities to print your profile. You also have the ability to make a donation and also become a fundraiser. So there are buttons that live on each of these. They're very visible. And if you click those, it will take you directly to those features and you can learn how that works. Next slide, please. So how the giving partner informs all of us. Data collection and review is the beginning of this. So all of the nonprofit organizations that have a profile have already or will be entering their information into their profile. And from that point, our team here at the Community Foundation reviews that data. We check to be sure that things are in the right spot. Sometimes things get a bit jumbled around, and we do our best to work with everyone to get those in the proper placement. And we also communicate back to you should something be missing that is still needed for your profile. We will let you know that. Once the data is in the profile, that is giving us a great picture of each organization. So programmatic results and outcomes, financial indicators, demographic indicators, sector and geographical indicators, community indicators, and it also gives you a great look at the organization's capacity. And from this, we also are able to learn more about community indicators and knowledge. So this is a great way for us to be able to curate and share out data as we need to make granting and funding decisions. Next slide. So how is the giving partner utilized? There are many ways. For one, it assists funders with the strategic grant making. The Community Foundation of Sarasota County is one of those. We use it in our one-on-one work with donors, matching impact to what the donors want to achieve with the impact of nonprofit organizations and services. And we also utilize it to learn who's who. So how each organization is different. Additionally, other local foundations utilize the giving partner for their grant making and funding strategies as well. Donors, of course, would utilize this to explore nonprofits to make informed charitable choices. Community members and other stakeholders will also gain insights from reviewing profiles. And then also for the nonprofit organizations themselves, it's a wonderful platform that presents engaging data. It's going to help you as a nonprofit partner increase your community awareness and your internal awareness into your organization. It's just going to help you learn more about how you're progressing and how your results are measuring up versus your expectations. Next slide, please. This is a great example of some of the data that is utilized from the giving partner. So with this is a particular sector report for the arts, culture, and humanities sector. And as you can see, it has lots of different information that we were able to just glean from the data report. It has indicators of board demographics. It also has some key findings that we were able to curate from the report. And it just helps us learn more about the sectors in our community. And it's great insight for any funders that are looking on how they want to make an impact with their donations. So, next slide, please. So now we're going to get into the steps to having a profile in the giving partner. And just so you know, this is an overview only. Anytime that you really are ready to dig into your profile and work on it, you'll want to always refer to the nonprofit toolkit, which lives on the giving partner website. So anytime you log into your profile, or if you're just starting to work on a profile, the nonprofit toolkit will live at the bottom of your landing page. There's a big icon. It's real easy to see, and all you have to do is click on that, and that will take you through everything that you need to know in detail. So this will be a much more comprehensive version than the slides we're looking at today, but just want to make you aware of that so that there's no confusion. Next slide, please. So for the folks who don't have a profile yet, the first thing you have to do is qualify. It's pretty simple. You just need to meet the following qualifications, which is having your 501c3 letter of determination as indicated, and also at least one active program that you've had in existence for at least 6 months. That program must also have local impact in at least one of the following counties, that being Sarasota, Manatee, Charlotte, or DeSoto County. And over on the right is a graphic. It's an example of what your letter of determination would basically look like. So if you're brand new and you're looking for that, this is what you're looking for pretty much. Next slide, please. If you meet those qualifications and you're ready to get started, the next step would be for you to apply for a profile. And the way that would work is you would go to the nonprofit toolkit and you would click the link to apply for a profile, which lives in that particular toolkit. And once you've submitted your application, it's pretty short, just some basic contact information and a couple of questions. That lands in our queue, and we can see that you have applied for a profile. And from there, we do a quick review to make sure that you have the document that we're looking for. That's your IRS letter of determination. And we're also looking to make sure that you have impact in one of the 4 local counties that we serve. Next slide. So the next thing, and this would be for everyone, whether you're creating a new profile for the first time or if you are making updates to your existing profile. You want to be sure and get prepared before you get started. It's super helpful. It's just going to make the process more efficient if you're ready ahead of time. So first things, if you're not comfortable with technology, please reach out to a family member or friend who can help you with that. All profiles must be completed and updated online. So you'll want to be sure you're comfortable with that. Additionally, you'll want to be able to have a compatible browser. Google Chrome is suggested to give you the best experience. And then you'll also want to get ready by going to the nonprofit toolkit, clicking on the checklist link, and that is going to give you instructions. So they're very easy to follow. It's going to reflect the key items and or updates that you need to make. So that's something you definitely want to refer to each time you are going to be making updates to your profile and if you're creating it for the first time. So I can't stress that enough. Be sure you utilize the checklist. And then last, you want to gather the documents that we require for upload in digital format. That would be your IRS letter of determination, your IRS Form 990s, profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and your state charitable solicitations permit. Just remember that having a profile in the giving partner is a prerequisite to eligibility for grants and opportunities available through the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. But that profile does need to have an approved current status, okay? So that's your key that you're looking for, is making sure that your profile retains that status. This slide is just a quick example of what the checklist look like. So it's just the first 2 pages. There are a total of 6. This just gives you easy to follow instructions. If you're an organization who is new to creating your profile for the first time, you're going to want to follow the blue column. And if you're making updates to your profile, you'll want to follow the checklist in the yellow column. Next slide. Also, email notifications, something I just want to highlight because we've had some folks who've unsubscribed, I believe, to some of these, and you may not be receiving important messages. So be sure that you don't unsubscribe from any of the GiveGab emails, because once you do, it unsubscribes you from every email they send, no matter what it is related to. And you won't be getting important status notifications about your profile if you've done that. You also want to be sure you mark notifications at givegab.com as a safe sender so that all of these make it to your inbox. This is how you will be informed of changes to your profile status. So just take a look at your inbox and make sure you have that set. Next slide, please. So the next thing we're going to go over is how to create your organization's profile and also how to update and maintain your organization's profile. The two are very, very similar, so that's why they're being combined in one step for the most part for purposes of the webinar today. So, and I'll walk through the differences as we go. Next step, please. So if you don't have a profile just yet, you're going to want to focus on creating your profile. And once we review your application, you would receive an email indicating if your organization can get started with creating your profile. So that's over on the right, an example of what that email would look like when it lands in your inbox. Super simple. You can simply click on the Manage Your Giving Partner Profile link at the bottom there. It will take you straight to your profile and where you can log in and get started. You want to be sure that you're creating your profile using the nonprofit toolkit and following the checklist. Once you've completed all of your work, be sure you click the button that says Submit Profile for review. If you don't click that, we don't know that you are ready for us to review your profile. So just be sure you click that link. If you're not sure if you clicked it, you can go back and click it. It's not going to hurt anything. If you're creating a new profile, the deadline is preferably within 30 days of application acceptance, or as soon as possible if you have conflicts around that, as soon as you're able to get that done. For purposes of the Giving Challenge, the deadline for creating a new profile is 5 p.m. February 28th. All right. So if you're wanting to get your profile in and get it submitted in time to participate in the Giving Challenge, you want to be sure you have everything completed and submitted by February 28th. Our time is still going to need time to review after that point in time, and we may need to come back and ask you for things that might have been overlooked, and so that just gives us a nice little window there. Next slide, please. Oh, can we go back one? My mistake. For updating your profile, let's go back one more slide. So for creating your profile, I just want to clarify on the deadline. So the deadline is 5 p.m. January 31st if you're creating a brand new profile for the first time. And next slide. If you're maintaining or updating your existing profile, that deadline is 5 p.m. February 28th. Okay, so there's a month difference there between the two. I just want to make sure that that's clear. So just be sure you can check back on the slide deck that we'll share out with everyone once we're concluding for today. Make sure you have those dates noted in your calendars. Next slide, please. So the first thing you want to do when you are ready to get started creating or updating your profile, of course, is to log into your profile. You can find the link to log in that should be in the email you would have received from GiveGab. But if you can't find that email, that's fine. There's also a link to log in that you can find at the top of the checklist in the nonprofit toolkit. It's helpful if you want to bookmark or save that page for future reference, just so you're not having to go dig it up again. Sometimes it can get buried with all of the messages everyone receives pretty easily. Next slide, please. Next, you're going to want to assign and or update administrators. These would be the folks that have access to your profile to make edits. So just be sure that whomever you choose for this role, that they have basic technical skills, and you want to be sure that they have access to the information in order to provide it accurately. This is going to live on the left gray menu bar of your profile. So as long as you have the giving partner selected, you'll go down to where it says Manage Organization. You can click on Add Administrator. It's super simple. All you need is their name and email address. And then you would click the Make This Person an Administrator radio button at the bottom, and then click Add Member. Once you do that, it will automatically send that email address, which will be how they log in, to them, and then they would determine the password they wish to use from there. And then if you need to edit those supporters, you would just click the Supporters tab that's also on the gray menu bar, and you can update that as necessary too as you go. So the first tab in your profile is the Profile Setup tab. This is pretty simple. It's very self-explanatory. You're going to enter your website address there. Select the causes that best make sense for your organization, and they would be from the drop-down menu, so it's very easy to select those. And then also you want to upload your logo. if you have that. It's not required, but it's super helpful. Visuals are really great to have on your profile. So if you have that, be sure you upload that, and then you want to be able to, or be sure to click the save button. Next slide. Also on the profile setup tab is the add your story section. Here's where you would upload your cover photo, set a financial goal if you wish to do that by clicking the checkbox. The tell your story section is where you can tell all about your organization. If you wish to put background information in there, you can. Anything you feel is relevant, you can include that here. You can also add a video link as well on this page. So lots of functionality here. This is going to be the first page that anybody would see when they click on your profile. So just be sure you take a peek and make sure it reads right and there are no formatting issues or grammatical errors that can sometimes happen. Next slide, please. Next is the overview tab. So these are the tabs at the top, just for clarification, as you can see from the image on the right. So the overview tab is going to reflect your mission category, achievement definition, primary organization type, your addresses, geographical areas served overall. So this is for the overall organization. And then also any formal collaborations that you may have. One thing I want to point out is the little info bubbles that are beside each of the fields. These, all you have to do is click on them and it will give you detailed instructions for those fields. So in the instances where something might not be real obvious what we're looking for there, if you click on the little eye, that's going to open up a little bitty window. It's going to show you exactly what we're looking for there. So that will be super helpful for you when you are creating or updating your profiles. Next tab. So the Programs and Results tab is a super important tab. This information should capture each of the top programs that your organization has, along with detailed results and outcomes for those served by the programs. Please do not list more than 10 programs. So if you have more than 10, that's awesome. Just select the top 10 that you want to list and have those appear here. You want to be sure we're not having too much information, just because lots of donors, I mean, they're not necessarily going to read everything. So you want to highlight the key programs that you have as much as you can. Additionally, you want to be sure to keep this tab updated as much as possible with the results of how the program has performed. And this would be as of your last fiscal year end or more recently. So you don't want to put a future date for the program outcomes achieved date. This is going to be what outcomes have been achieved as of your last fiscal year end, or if it's been more recently, that is great too. It's totally up to you on how you want to note that. Next slide, please. The Financials tab has a lot of data within it. If you've looked at this and if you're familiar with this, I know folks have a lot of trouble sometimes trying to navigate this particular tab. So hopefully we've tried to make it a lot better with the info bubbles and cleaned it up a lot. These are going to be, again, the info bubbles are going to be super helpful in guiding you here. Anytime you see anything in red, that means it is a required field that has to be answered. So you may not have sometimes some data for some fields that are in red. Perhaps it doesn't apply to your organization. If that's the case, that's fine. Usually you can select NA from a drop-down box. But normally if it's requiring information, most organizations would have this. So just keep that in mind. This information on this particular part of the Financials tab is initially going to start with your current and projected numbers. Next, it's going to reflect any endowment or credit line or reserve fund that you may have. And then also the administrative needs that your organization has. So we're looking for the top 3. These would not be the same as your program needs. These would be strictly administrative needs. So, you know, overhead, volunteers, help like that, anything that you want to put here that would fall under your administrative needs is where that would go. Next slide, please. And then a little further down the financials tab, we have the capital campaign section. That may not apply to you. That's fine. All you have to do is answer yes or no to the first question. You'll also want to upload any 990s that you have. Most organizations do have those. Even if it's a postcard, you'll want to be sure and upload those. And then if your organization files the postcard, since those don't contain any much financial information at all on them, if you do file the postcard, that's the 990N, you also would need to upload your profit and loss statement and balance sheets for the same period. Donors and vendors want to see how your organization is doing, and they're always going to want to look at your financial picture. So be sure that you get that information in there. If you file a 990 or a 990EZ, you do not necessarily need to upload a balance sheet and profit and loss statement. You're welcome to do that if you wish. If your organization is a chapter organization and you have a parent organization that is filing your 990s at that level, then you would also need to upload your local chapter information under the additional financial section. So that would be where it says financial statements or audit. And then finally, on the financials tab at the very bottom, we have the financial data section. So there are 3 sections. The first is primarily your financial revenue information. The second table is your expense allocation, and the third is your assets and liabilities. So you want to be sure that you populate that based upon your 990s, if that is how you choose to do this. If you need to utilize those numbers from your financial statements or audit, you're welcome to do that as well. Next slide. So our next tab is the operations tab. This is the year your organization was incorporated, your EIN, your IRS letter of determination. Those 3 things are all going to be reflected here. And once those 3, the first 3 are provided, you don't want to alter those later on. So you wouldn't want to go in and change your EIN to something else. If you are having a name change or an organizational change to where you have a new EIN or a different EIN, please reach out to us directly so that we can be sure your profile stays accurate. That's what we just definitely would need you to do if that's the case. It shouldn't happen very often at all, but sometimes it does. Additionally, your state charitable solicitations permit is going to go on this page. So you would upload that. And then also, if you have any planning documents or policies, you no longer need to upload the actual documents. Here you would just indicate the expiration dates of those documents or the dates they were adopted, depending upon which one you're looking at. Next slide, please. The staff and volunteers tab, of course, this would apply mostly to organizations who have staff, and everybody has volunteers, so that's a given. But the top section is for the staff, so you would go and complete those based upon your organization. If it does not apply to you and you do not have any full-time staff, you can enter 0. If you enter 0 for the full-time staff, your retention rate is automatically going to be NA. If you enter any number above 0 for full-time staff, you're going to want to calculate your retention rate percentage, and that would be included in the info bubble. So those instructions are there for you to easily calculate that. You'll also want to indicate any part-time staff that you may have, any contractors, other statistics from who the management reports to, reporting to your board. You'll want to indicate that. You're also going to want to list the CEO, executive director's name and email and other information here. And then there's also the demographics for the CEO, executive director. And at the bottom, we have the volunteers overview, which is simply the number of volunteers that your organization currently has. Next slide, please. So the last tab is the governance tab. This is going to reflect your board members, your board chair, expiration date for your board chair. If you have a co-chair, you would indicate that as well. A lot of organizations don't have a co-chair, and that's fine. There's also the overview section, which is just going to give quite a bit of statistical information as far as board meeting attendance, board term limits, etc. And then at the very bottom of the governance tab, we also have a board demographics section. So that's something you'll want to complete as well. All you need to do is tally up all of your board members in total, and you want to be sure that the demographics section, the numbers that you enter there, align with your total board members. Next slide, please. So that captures most of what you would be entering for the data within your profile. So the next step is the foundation review process. Next slide. So the foundation reviews occur in the order that profiles are submitted. So as long as you haven't missed any required fields or key updates and you have provided the correct documents and data, your profile will be published with the status of approved current. That's the status you want to try to have and maintain. So as long as you're making your updates, it's a pretty easy feat to achieve. You want to have approved current as much as possible for your profile status. If for some reason you've missed any required fields or key updates, or some of the data or documents you provided were incorrect, we will notify you that we need something different. But in the interim, we will change your status to pending or pending re-verification until you have provided those documents or data. If you're not sure if you have completed all of your necessary fields, the best way to determine this is cross-check your profile with the checklist. Once we've completed our review, you will be receiving an email that indicates the profile status. So once again, just be sure you check your inbox regularly, and you will see the email there that's going to inform you of whether your profile was approved or if there's still something that we need from you. Next slide, please. So profile statuses for new profiles. So this is for anyone who is working on creating a brand new profile for the first time. The statuses are slightly different than for everyone who has an existing profile. So for new profiles, you're going to see initially, after you've applied and we approved your application, you're going to see that your profile has changed to a pending status. That's your cue that you can start working on your profile. Once you have completed all of your profile and are ready to submit for our review, you click on the submit button and it will change to reflecting the submitted status. And then in review, that is when we are actually reviewing your profile, so you'll know that as well. And once your profile is approved, you would see the approved status. Now note, these statuses appear on the admin-facing side of your profile. So these are not the public statuses. Next slide, please. For everyone who are working on making updates to their profiles that are existing profiles, then that means you've been approved already at least once at some point in the past. And that should be the majority of everyone. So for existing profiles, it's the same scenario. You're going to get, anytime the status changes, you're going to get an email notification indicating that. The statuses that appear on the admin facing for existing profiles are slightly different, as I mentioned. So you would see either re-verification pending, that's your cue that you have some updates that need to be completed. And once you've made your updates, you would want to be sure to click on the button that says submit for re-verification. That means your profile is in line for review. And then when we have moved the profile to being reviewed, you'll see that as well. It will indicate that your profile is in review. And as long as you've made all of the updates that are necessary, you would see that it has changed to the approved status. And just also note that once you submit your profile, you can still make updates to it before we review it. So if you see that you forgot something or you wanted to change something, feel free to go ahead and do that. You don't have to wait to hear back from us to make that change. And then one last thing I want to just mention, the profile expiration date that you see on your profile, that field is merely an internal control utilized by the Community Foundation. Just so you know, it's not tied to how often you need to make an update. It's not an annual update date. It's tied to the next data point or document in your profile that will be expiring or become due. So we try to set that for the next item that's going to be expiring so that once that date comes, if for some reason you've not made that update, it will automatically trigger your profile to reset to a re-verification pending status, which will send an email to you alerting you that something needs attention. So just know that the profile expiration date isn't really anything that you need to focus on or be concerned about. It's mostly an internal control that we utilize to inform you. Next slide, please. So once you have your profile set up, the next step would be if you would like to participate in collecting and managing donations through the giving partner. I'm going to walk you through that really quickly. Next slide, please. So to collect donations through the giving partner, you may have noticed there is a donate button that appears on the public facing profile. If you wish to collect donations through your profile, you have to get verified. It's pretty easy to do. It's a necessary step, and our wonderful team at GiveGab is there to help you get that taken care of. So all you have to do is log into your profile and go to Profile Setup, Get Verified to collect donations, complete the information there, and from that point, the team at GiveGab is going to review your information, verify it, and then you would be approved to collect donations. Also, I would encourage you to take a look at our webinar and trainings page. You can find this at the bottom of the nonprofit toolkit. If you click on that link, it's going to have a quick slide deck around this just to give you some more details about how that works. Next slide, please. So once you have, if you've opted in to utilizing the donate button on your profile, this is a screen image of what that would look like for anybody wishing to make a donation. It's super easy. Donors can make a one-time or recurring gift. So if they wish to make a recurring gift, it gives them the option of doing that monthly or quarterly. That's a really wonderful feature to have. If they want to make multiple donations to other organizations, they can do that as well. And if they have any changes before they want to finalize their gift, they can simply click on the back button to make any changes to any of their donation. Next slide, please. Additionally, if you have opted in to the donate button, you would also have report information available to you, so you would be able to manage your donations through the giving partner. This lives on the left gray menu under reports and donations. And as you can see towards the right, it has a lot of information, the donation ID, the date with a timestamp, the donor name, or if they chose to remain anonymous, you would see anonymous donor. You can see their intended donation, any bank fees or platform fees that were charged, and then the actual payout amount. And also know that there is the option on the donation form for a donor to cover these fees. Quite often they choose to cover the fees, so just know they have that option as well to do that. And then also you can see if this was an anonymous donation, if it's recurring, and if that particular donor indicated it was in memory or honor of someone, they can indicate that as well. Next slide, please. And additionally, on that report, you can export it as well. Step 7, promoting your organization. So once you have your profile up, the next thing you're going to want to do is be sure you promote it. On the right-hand side of your profile page, you're going to see at the bottom corner a share your page space. You'll see the little Twitter and Facebook icons there. You can easily click those to share your page on those two socials. So that's a great feature. Additionally, you have the option of participating in peer-to-peer fundraising and or boost fundraising. So the peer-to-peer fundraising is a really great tool. It's integrated within your profile, so it keeps everything seamless and super easy. The best thing I can suggest is to take a look at the slide deck that appears under the webinar and trainings page. It's located at the bottom of the nonprofit toolkit. So you'll want to review that to learn all about it, learn how it works. And if you wish to start with that, you can certainly kick it off. There's also a Boost fundraising suite that is opt-in only as well. That also has a slide deck with it. So again, take a look at the webinar and trainings page to learn more about that. Next slide, please. Next, we're going to go over searching and reports. So next slide. This interface lives on the landing page of the giving partner. So it doesn't live within your individual profiles, but it's on the main landing page, on the public facing. So anyone can go and search for any organization to support. You can search by the organization name or a keyword that you're looking for. You can search by location, city, state, zip. You can also search by cause category. So you can search for multiple items as well. Maybe you want to search for the organization that you're looking for, the types of organizations that you're looking for within Sarasota. And you're able to do that. And then you click the search button, and that will render a list of all of the organizations that meet your criteria below. Additionally, you can search on the same page for any organizations to find out who has volunteer opportunities. And also you can find out if any organizations are seeking board members. If you would like to get a report that you can edit, all you have to do is pop in your email address and then click download results, and it will email the report to your inbox. And from there, you could import that into Excel and manipulate the data as you need to. So it's a really handy way to just learn more about anything that's going on with our local nonprofit sector, or any particular organizations that you're wanting to get more insight around. Next slide, please. So eligibility for opportunities through the Community Foundation. Next slide. An approved current profile status in the giving partner is required to be eligible for opportunities available through the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. This would be opportunities such as grant applications, trainings and workshops, and also for the Giving Challenge. The next Giving Challenge will be held April 26th through 27th of 2022. And to be eligible for the Giving Challenge, again, be sure you have your profile submitted on time so that once we review it, you will have the current approved status and you'll be eligible for the Giving Challenge. The deadline for new profiles, again, is January 31st by 5 p.m. The deadline for existing profiles is February 28th by 5 p.m. So be sure you've clicked on your submit buttons by those dates. And lastly, if your organization is wanting to be eligible for the Get It Current, Keep It Current prizes, the deadline for the prizes And this would be for any profile, new or existing. You would have to have it completed and fully updated and submitted by 5 p.m. January 31st to be eligible. Next slide. If you have any questions, need assistance, or help with anything in your profile, the customer success team at GiveGab is awesome and always ready to help. All you have to do is click the little blue chat bubble that lives in the bottom right of your profile and just write in what your question is. They will be very prompt in responding back to you and helping you get everything taken care of. Additionally, if you have further questions, you can contact us at nonprofits@cfsarasota.org. And I also strongly encourage you, especially if you're brand new to having a profile, to check out the additional resources at the bottom of the nonprofit toolkit. This is where the webinars and trainings live. Additional enhancements that we are making as we go will also be indicated there, and a lot of other information that you can find, such as blogs and helpful tools. So that concludes most of our webinar today. We're going to have a bit of Q&A, I believe. So I am going to turn it back over to Renata, and we're going to work through those questions.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you, everyone who has submitted such thoughtful questions. So we're going to start off with an easy one. Well, how do we access today's presentation and everything we learned? Where will it be available?
So you will be, everybody will receive the slide deck as soon as we conclude our session today. It may be later towards the end of the day, but we'll get that out to you today. So you'll have the link to the webinar. The webinar will also live on the webinar and trainings page in the nonprofit toolkit. So just know that. And we'll also be sharing out the link in the nonprofit newsletter coming up this week.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask these questions in the order that they were asked. If there were any similar questions or things that I could merge together, I did do that, but I am going to try to ask all the questions or get them covered today. So an element that was brought up is, what if your organization had a profile, but it lapsed due to that person no longer working for the organization? How do you remove someone as an administrator?
Great question. So it's really easy. Once you log into your profile, on the left gray menu bar, you would click Manage Organization. And then the drop-down menu from there is called Supporters. So if you click on Supporters, it will bring up all of the supporters for your organization. And you can easily find their name by clicking on the little key icon at the top of the column. So you'll see, like, everybody has a little key. There's little blue keys for the folks who actually have the ability to make edits to your profile. You can find them there. So you want to look for those with the little blue key, and then you can edit those as you need to. If you need to delete them, you can do that. If you need to change their email address, you can do that as well.
So someone asked, do nonprofits have access to the sector reports and how? So I'll answer that piece, but then Susan, maybe you can also indicate how nonprofits in the future may have access to reporting and what the current access is for reporting. So hi everyone again, I'm Renata. I came to the Community Foundation in March of this year as the Vice President of Knowledge and Equity. We are having more of a focus on the giving partner and data. So we will be making for each nonprofit sector, those sector indicator reports. We're going to go through them one at a time. I want to thank you for everyone who participated in the NPO listening sessions this summer. You all told us what indicators you were measuring and what's important. So then for the arts and culture one, as you all saw, we did employment, economic output, jobs, income, revenue. So we'll be doing different reports for each of those sectors, and we'll send them back out to you all as a follow-up for your participation in the NPO listening session. So we'll do that by sector. So we'll reach back out to you all as we get those completed. We're not finalized yet. So that's the answer to that piece. And then Susan, anything on reporting or reports in general?
So for reports, you're able to go to the search page. So you can search for nonprofit organizations, one or more. But from that, you would be able to download the information for all of those organizations. So it could be one, it could be 31 different organizations, or as many as you would like. And you'll get a report with all of the organizations and all of the data points that are available. And from that, you can limit or narrow down any of the fields that you're not needing to utilize. And then this would all be done in Excel. So you would be able to alter that to however you want to customize it for your organization's needs.
Thank you. So we have another question. So if someone experienced updating their profile and they would press save for the required information, they then indicated there was no way for them to go back out and proofread those fields prior to submitting. Has this functionality been updated?
Great question. That functionality lives on. The reason being is for fields that are key critical fields that require our review first before they're pushed out publicly. This would be things such as your 990, your financial information, and some other fields. You can upload those and save them and submit them, but until we review them and accept that particular item, it doesn't appear on your admin side where you can see what you just did. So understand that that's a bit of a pain point for you, and I'm not sure, I can't really speak to if that will change in the future. It's more so just a safety net so that if we have something that shouldn't be pushed out publicly before we've reviewed it, it doesn't. Just sometimes folks will upload a 990 with their Schedule B in there, and your Schedule Bs contain confidential donor names and information. And sometimes that doesn't get removed or redacted before you upload it. So this is why it passes by our eyes first. And if we notice that, we're not going to publish it. I hope that makes sense.
I also want to combine another set of questions. A few folks have indicated that items have expired, but they are currently not receiving notifications. So that something will expire or their profile will get pushed to pending and they are unaware of it. I don't know if that's a question or that was just a comment that some folks have, I think about 3 or 4 folks posted in the chat.
Yes, and that's, so this kind of probably ties back to maybe perhaps that you unsubscribed from the GiveGab emails at some point in time and you're not getting those notifications. But everyone should be getting a notification anytime their status changes. So if that's the case and you're not receiving anything and you're not aware of your profile status, the best thing you can do is reach out to GiveGab through the little blue chat bubble and let them know that you need to be resubscribed, and they can help you with that from their end. So you'll need to go through the GiveGab customer success team to get that resolved.
Another question, which is, I think we have about 4 minutes left, so I'm going to hop around. Sexual orientations is about demographics. So I'm going to make the demographic questions hybrid. Sexual orientation and ability should be optional. It is not required by employers and may represent a liability. What is the purpose of this new requirement? I'm happy to help answer this. And then also, someone in the Q&A asked, the demographics for the CEO, executive director are required, but we do not have a CEO or an executive director. Please advise.
Sure. So I can answer the question about if you do not have a CEO or executive director. So for that one, all you'll need to do is select information not available across the board for that particular position. And for the questions around sexual identity and ability. I'm going to let Renata speak to that.
Yes. So we are currently the Community Foundation. Candid and GuideStar issued a notice, and they would like for all nonprofits to ask 4 demographic questions. So we are asking that of our staff, the nonprofits, the board, and our new donors. So that's how we got to those questions. They're completely optional. And if you would like more information, please let me know. All right, the donate button. How do I use the donate button, and are people donating?
Yes, they are. We had a great year last year in spite of the pandemic. A lot of folks were donating and have been donating. So the donate button is something that you have to get verified for in order to utilize that. So before the donate button is activated for your organization, you'll have to connect with GiveGab to get verified. Within your profile, on the first tab at the bottom, you'll see get verified, and you'll click on that, and you're going to populate the information that they're asking for with your bank information. So that's your bank account number, routing number, because what happens is all of the funds collected through the donate button are going to be direct deposited into your account. So that's how you would need to go through that process to get verified first before you can do that. And I think GiveGab has between like a 1 to 3 day turnaround on that. It just depends on how much volume they're receiving at the time. But they're pretty quick about doing that. And once they have verified you, you're good to go and you can get started collecting donations.
Yay. Okay, so a hybrid question. So we're wrapping up. Folks want to say before we log off, Susan, can you clarify when should we update our profile? And a couple of folks, maybe 5 or 6 folks, asked when should they update their profile during the year. I want to offer, if anything, about like reporting those indicator reports, DEI demographics, the survey. Folks can feel free to email me or call me. And then Susan, if you want to take the last question about the when folks, how often should they update their profile? And then I'll put my phone number and email in the chat if any questions went unanswered.
All right, Renata. So you'll want to make your updates on a rolling basis. And what that means is anytime throughout the year that something expires or becomes due, you want to log into your profile, you want to make those updates. The best thing you can do, I really strongly recommend you to set a recurring monthly calendar reminder and just take a look, see, make sure something hasn't expired. You should be getting an email notification in your inbox if something is expired anyway. But if you haven't yet, you can always take a look at your profile. You want to compare it with the checklist. So the checklist has the key fields. Those are the most critical fields that need to be updated or edited each year. If something's expired, then clearly you want to update it. Or some things don't necessarily expire, they're just due. Like your 990 for the next year would be due at whatever interval those are due. And we know a lot of folks file extensions on that, that's fine. Just be sure that you get it uploaded as soon as you have it ready, okay? So just know that there's not like a once a year annual update and then you're done for another 12 months. Most everybody has different items in their profile, at least 3 to 5 items that are going to expire at different dates throughout each and every year. So that's your state permit, your 990s, your board chairs, term expiration date, things like that. I hope that answers your question. And we thank you all so much for joining us today. Please know that we will be sharing out the slides by email afterwards later today with all of you. So you'll have that to reference. And you can also find the slide deck and webinar on the Nonprofit Toolkit's webinar and trainings page. Thanks, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.